Okay, I think we got good audio here, so
Okay.
go ahead and roll with it and just see what happens.
All right, let's light this candle.
Welcome to Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons. My guest today is Greg Kathary, a 14 News veteran from back in the old days. Welcome, Greg.
Back in the day. Thank you, Jeff. It's great to be here.
I didn't realize that you had worked here so long ago. You know,
Yes,
when
yes.
you told me
It's
1995, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, good night. Those were the same people that were here when I started.
Yeah, exactly.
So the bigger question arises, why are you here now? Right?
Why am I here now? That's a very good question. No, so for the last 21 years, my wife and I, we were living up in Indianapolis. I had been working at the NBC station up there, and there have been some family matters that we wanted to come back a little bit closer to home here to Evansville, because both of our families
Sure.
are from in and around southern Indiana. So we moved back here in early August. And just kind of settling into life back here in Evansville.
Yeah, I saw you at the Fall Festival, so
Yes.
you wasted no time in getting reacclimated.
Hey man, the West Side is the best side as far as I'm concerned.
That's right, getting your gizzard all back in
That's right,
reoriented.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
well, let's go around the horn here a little bit and talk
Okay.
about how you got to be where you are and,
Sure.
and all that. So, Gibson County, right?
That's right, the pride of Fort Branch.
Oh, you said it already.
sorry.
Because you told me once that there was kind of this rivalry between Fort Branch and Hobstad.
Yes,
And-
a little bit, yeah.
And to say that one was from one and not the other could cause some problems in Gibson County.
It could a little bit, but you see, I actually claim dual citizenship because my mother is and her 6 sisters are from Hofstad.
Okay.
So and for a few years, we'd actually lived in Hofstad before we moved to Fort Branch. But our good friend Chuck Lofton, I worked with at WTHR in Indianapolis, he always referred to it as the Fort Branch Hofstad Metroplex.
It is a metroplex. I mean, it's connected by railroad. You know,
That's
so
right.
You got that going for you.
Yeah.
So you went to Gibson Southern?
Yeah, Gibson Southern, class of '93, go Titans.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand. And maybe I remember. I have a weird memory, as you know. Didn't you get your start in Bye Bye Birdie doing either the voice of Ed Sullivan, or were you the Paul Lynde character that Kids, what's the matter
That
with
is
kids
amazing that you pulled that out. Yeah, because my best friends in high school talked me into being a part of the spring production my junior year at Gibson Southern, and yeah, we did Bye Bye Birdie, and yeah, I was asked to do the off-camera impersonation of Ed Sullivan, and of course, it's amazing that a kid of my age even knows who in the world Ed Sullivan
Right,
is.
I barely know. But
Right, and so
I know YouTube, so you really just had to kind of ask around back then.
That's right. I asked my mom, Mom, what was Ed Sullivan like? And but so I did that. Did a couple of like background like singing numbers or whatever. But Bye Bye Birdie was so much fun. I had a blast doing that.
But you didn't do the kids. What's the matter with
I
that
didn't.
song.
I didn't get that part.
That was kind of a lead. The father, I can't remember.
That's right.
but,
No,
okay.
I because this was like my one and only time in the theater production. They're not gonna just out and give me the lead to anything.
Right.
I had to work your way up the ladder.
Just
so.
a one-off. So,
Yeah, it was just a one-off.
So how'd you get into radio?
That's interesting because I initially thought when I was in high school that I was going to go the way of the military. I was going to join the Air Force like my father did. My father's side of the family, just about all of them were in either the Army or the Air Force, and I thought that was going to be my path as well. I was trying to get into the Air Force Academy, but in order to do that, you had to have a lot of money, some congressional pull, and a few other things, and I had none of that. So
You didn't mention the Bye Bye Birdie gig as maybe an in.
I tried that, and they were like, "That's nice, but that's not going to fly." So come senior year, my friends again got me talked into doing the newspaper at the high school. So that's kind of where the journalistic part kind of came in, and Don Acey, the English lit teacher, and he was a sponsor for the newspaper, really helped me out a ton and helped me to learn how to craft stories. And then I had another friend who actually was a year ahead of us in high school. He had a job in I believe it was like the sales department at WAOV in Vincennes. So I was like, man, is there any way that I can get any kind of just entry-level job? I wouldn't mind, sweeping up the floors, whatever the case may be. Just let me see what I can do. And then ended up getting a weekend overnight, the coveted weekend overnight job.
Wow.
At WAOV and WZDM doing recorded like weather.
Oh, Wisdom 10 something. wasn't it?
Wisdom 92.1.
92.1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did the recorded weathers. I did a few like news updates overnight, and basically made sure that the station stayed on the air. That was my job.
That's a good. Take transmitter readings usually.
That's right. I did take transmitter
So-
readings.
well,
Yes.
No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
So describe the first night. You're there alone, and you push the button. You're talking to Greater Wabash Valley with whatever it was.
That's right.
Did you get a thrill? Was you nervous? What?
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous, but what was interesting was how I kind of was actually practicing in my room, because I was such I loved radio, and I listened to all of the local radio stations, and I tried to imitate them to the best of my ability. So much like during the days of WIKY, it was Randy Wheeler and
yes,
and Dave Lyons and all those guys over there. So I tried to emulate what I could, and doing that when I was recording, the news and weather updates, trying to sound as official as possible.
Yes. Did your and you're like what, 19, right?
19. Yeah.
Shaving yet or not?
No.
So did.
What are you talking about? I'm barely shaving now. Yeah.
Did your folks listen then that first night?
Oh,
were they
absolutely.
like tuned in with the crystal set?
Well, yeah. My mother, yeah. I mean, she is the absolute best. She was like, okay, now where exactly on the radio dial do I need to find you?
Put a little piece of tape.
Put
on
a little
it.
piece of tape on there, and then yes, God love her, she was up at 1:30, 2 in the morning, just listening for that news update or that weather update. So she's always been a huge supporter for me, biggest fan.
Did she have notes for you then when you got home for breakfast?
Yeah, that was the other
day?
thing too. I thought was kind of interesting. It's just like, okay, here are the following things I think you could have been better at. But
your diction, or
right,
whatever.
You need to, from the diaphragm, you need to project more.
Yeah. So I kind of picked your story up, of course, when you started working here, but you were also working at WIKY or that group of stations.
No,
across
I
the
was
street,
that's
South
right.
Central.
No, I was working at WIKY. The late Mark Baker was program director at the time. Again, gave me an opportunity because there were already there was someone over at USI that was already in the news department over there that was doing news updates on the weekends, and I was like, try to work my connections.
Yep.
It's like, hey, is there anything available? I'll take anything.
Yeah, so we've heard your work with the weather up at WZDM.
That's right.
You might be a fit.
Right. It was, but I mean, I recorded those things, so I actually did have something on tape to show him or for him to listen to, and he gave me an opportunity, so I did WIKY on the weekends for a couple of years. So yeah, if you had insomnia on the weekends, I was your guy.
No, I heard you, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
See, I was a big Scott
Logan.
Logan fan.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And little did I know, because we had Greg Kathary working over here in the studio with
Right.
us. And but the voice sounded somewhat familiar, although you weren't a big talker. You were just like 2 minutes, 1 minute rap,
Right.
out there.
Right.
And then later, I find out you're living this double life. You're on the radio and TV, so you're like conquering all the media very quietly.
That's right. I was doing what I could to take part in all things tri-state media at the time. Plus, it was fun. The Scott Logan personality when I was at 103 GBF. That was something to where I could really kind of show off a little bit of my alter ego and really have some fun with it. So
that must be the great part about. I never did radio like for realsies. I've recorded weather for them, of course, but never been like a radio personality. And the fact that nobody can see you, so you can be whomever.
Exactly.
And they had a bunch over there. Of course, when there were many stations in that building, there was the Sandman, and of course
he was my boss. Yeah,
and you had Wiki that had the regular personalities on there.
Yeah.
But it was always fun to listen and then meet these people. and you're like, well, you're not what you don't look what you sound like at all, you know.
Yeah, I got that quite a bit. It's just like, that you sound familiar, but I can't quite place where you're from.
Were you in a show in Gibson County?
Right, Bye Bye Birdie, I think it was.
Yeah,
Okay. I heard great reviews about that. Yeah.
So when you came here, you were working on the production side, running camera and so on and so on. But you quickly then moved into producing, right?
I edited. I was like a news videotape editor. I did that for a little bit. So I was editing the videotape for newscasts, and that was kind of my entryway into the news department at the time. And so I'm trying to remember. I think I did that for maybe about a year and a half. And then the news director at the time, Bob Freeman, decided that he wanted to expand the morning show, Sunrise. And so he said, well, let's put you on the first half of the because I think it was like expanding to like 90 minutes. Let's put you on the first half. If somebody's
watching,
that's right, that no one's watching. So if you mess up, it's no big deal. But you kind of learned along the way. You pay attention to Jill Seiler. I was working with her at the time, the former producer. And then Jill left to go do other things. And then Bob was like, hey, I got an exciting career opportunity for you. How would you like to do the whole thing?
Yeah, we all had many of those with Bob Freeman. He was on this podcast a while back.
That's right.
He didn't mention all the exciting career opportunities that he presented to many of us over the years.
Well, there was, obviously, aside from Sunrise, there was also Touchdown. I got to do that for a few years.
Well, yours actually, though, turned out to be a good one, because you wound up in a big market, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But coming back to Touchdown and some of the other things you did, that was really my contact with you, because on Friday nights this place was on fire.
That's right.
Covering sports,
yeah,
and everybody running in 20 different directions, and you had to be, I guess, the traffic cop, the enforcer, the producer, the psychiatrist, all of those things and more, to get that show on the air.
Yeah.
And we've had many of the veterans from that, Mike Blake, and of course Dean Webster has talked about that process. And it was much harder back then because tape had to be edited in order, basically. It was on a videotape. We couldn't do nonlinear, which, you drop things on a timeline and it's done.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stress. And oftentimes we made it by the hair of our chinny chin chin.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
So kind of give me the barometer in the control room. You're sitting in there, and it's about 3 minutes to showtime, and about a half of your show is still being edited or driven to the station at a high rate of speed.
Exactly.
What goes through your mind?
Trying not to panic, for one thing. But yeah, there were times where I'm getting. A phone call saying that, hey, I'm speeding down 41 as fast as humanly possible, and I'm trying to get to the station. It's going to be real close, but I think we're going to make it. So I'm trying to mentally, in my head, it's like, okay, if I don't have this game, then we're going to, move here, and I got to make sure that Mike Blake knows, Todd Richards knows, and also letting the director kind of, okay, here's Plan B and here's Plan C. If need be, and then also I'm also like calling around to the different radio stations and trying to, because they're the ones that are covering the games. I'm trying to get final scores from some of these places right up until like the last minute. So I remember I would always look up at the control room, or I'm sorry, in the newsroom, and if I saw you at the weather wall, I started to panic because my time was
about 3 minutes.
That's right. my time was running out, and so I had to quickly get to the control room and get all my stuff in order, and so it was definitely nerve-wracking at times, but I tell you, at the same time I had the most fun doing Touchdown and Hoops There It Is back then.
Yeah, and it was kind of, you think about a producer, at least this is how I think of them, because I'm always on the other side. I'm always at the mercy of producers, right? You're kind of like,
because we're always telling you to wrap up.
You're always telling us to do something.
That's right.
Sometimes wrap it up. That's one of the nicer things. But you're kind of like a puppeteer, especially with talent on camera, because you got to communicate to them quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, do this, drop that, go over here. And I know that Mike would often come into the studio and script pages would be falling, and he would be very late as well, because everybody's trying to get this thing on, and yet it all worked, And then, so what's the feeling when we go to the final credit, and now the Tonight Show's on? then do you then have your coronary quietly?
That's
and
usually,
go home,
yeah.
or-
Usually, I'm like huddled up in the corner, just kind of rocking back to myself. It's like, it's okay. We made it. We made it. Everything's made it on just fine. No, I mean, yeah, that was a lot of it. Was just trying to stay not only one step ahead of the talent, but also making sure that the director or the audio person knew where to go next. Making sure that all of the tapes were kind of the way they were laid out in the proper order, because it was basically just I would run
Yeah.
into the tape room
Right.
and just kind of throw a bunch of tapes.
Somebody would start putting them in.
Yeah,
to
and I was just
physical
like, all right,
machines.
good luck.
Yeah.
Please make sure that they roll the way they're supposed to.
It's one thing I miss about when we do live newscasts or any event here. There's no noise anymore. You used to hear through the wall. You'd hear that cart rumble up the ramp into the tape room, and you'd hear
Yeah.
kind of muffled yelling. And
That was probably me.
Yeah, and there would be banging, and then you'd hear people on the headset communicating.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, not all the time, but often.
Yeah.
And there was this energy. And now with everything being digital,
Yeah.
it's like working. We could be at an insurance agency, writing a term policy. I mean, it's just nothing against insurance,
Of
but
course not,
No,
no.
I always picture that as very quiet, kind of staid office space.
Yeah.
And that part of it has gone away, which is sad, but just part of the progress, I suppose.
Yeah, that was part of the whole the thrill, the excitement, and I've heard you say it in previous podcasts where
You
know,
listen
notes-
to this podcast?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm a
you'd
big-
heard about us?
I'm a big fan. No, are you
I'm
kidding
flattered.
me?
I'm
a big
flattered.
fan. No, I was. Matter of fact, I was watching a bunch of them last night, or listening to a bunch of them last night. But no, that was always the big thrill for me, especially at my age, because I was here during my mid to late 20s, and it was just the adrenaline rush of no two Friday nights were going to be the same. There was always going to be something that I had to be able to react to, and to be able to make sure that everything got on the way it was supposed to. Leading Mike and Todd the way where they needed to be, and making sure, most importantly, that we got out on time. So,
Yes. We can't join the Tonight Show in progress.
No, people get upset.
They do.
We get phone calls,
especially sponsors. So,
right.
So and having had all that experience, now you get married in 2003 to Julia, and off you go to Indy. You get this dream job at the Fox affiliate at 59, right?
Fox 59 in Indianapolis, and I was there. I was doing a little bit of everything because they had a weekend producer position, so I was producing their 10 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday night. But then during the week, I was also working like their assignment desk. So I was the one that was dispatching crews here and there and answering phone calls. And that was a little weird because I'm the new guy here in Indianapolis. I'm still trying to figure out my way around town.
You seem to have an affinity for going for what I would consider to be all the worst jobs in broadcasting.
Yeah, I know.
Producers are punching bags. They get it from all sides. And assignment editors, maybe even a bigger punching bag.
Yes.
Because no one's ever happy with the assignment
No,
editor. The
they are not.
reporters aren't. They've got their ideas, but the assignment editor knows, well, we need this, that, and the other.
No, you're right.
And they don't like that. And then above, everybody's sitting on, well, why didn't we get this? Or and it just always seemed like, and I've known some really nice people who otherwise you would never guess that they had that job.
That they had that
that
job.
they were, you've made it out alive
They
too,
had,
so you're among them.
Yeah, well, the nice thing was that yes, I somehow made my way through it, and thankfully, there was a sports producing position that came open maybe about 6 or 7 months after I got there, and I'm like, ooh, I want that, I want that. me, because nothing against the assignment desk, but it is tough. It is sometimes a very thankless job, and I knew that for me, my part was just like I wanted to be getting into more producing. I was just creative that way.
And Indy would be a great town. You got the Pacers, you've got the Colts, you've got
Indianapolis,
500.
Indy 500.
And any number of things going on up there. So how is that now for you to you came from, I guess, Evansville. This market would be a medium or small market. Now you're in the big time. Indy is what, market 25 or
market
something?
25, last I looked,
So that's the big league, the bigs, as
the
Mike
bigs,
Blake
yes.
would say.
And the competition there among all the stations was high all the time, and that was like the driving force. Like we had to find a way to have that competitive edge, to be able to find something better than the other guy. And that was especially true when I ultimately got over to WTHR, and because they operate at a very high level. I mean, they're not just one of the best stations in the state. I mean, they're considered to be one of the best in the country. I mean, they've won all kinds of Emmys and Edward R. Murrow awards. So I mean, that was something that to live up to that. To live up to those expectations, it was pretty high.
So you always work under pressure.
It would appear, yes.
You never just go home and eat a Jell-O salad and watch professional wrestling or anything. I mean, you're under stress. This is a lot of stress, especially in that size market.
Yes, especially at that station, and there were a lot of times where when we didn't hit the mark, the news director and everyone else of the higher ups at that station let us know about it, and rightfully so, because we had an image and a reputation to uphold to, and that station, in fact, still is the top station in the Indianapolis market.
What would be an example, and you don't have to tell me if you don't want, of coming up short? Like, can you think of an event that happened and you were late to the scene or whatever, didn't have this, that, or the other sound, and then now there's yelling?
Then now there's yelling. Well, I'll tell you one story. Actually, this goes back to my Fox 59 days, and the reporter that I was working with at the time, Russ McQuaid, is a veteran reporter. He's been in that market for well over 25 years. He gets a tip from one of his friends within the Indianapolis Police Department saying, "Hey, this is happening where they are going to merge Marion County Sheriff's Department with the Indianapolis Police Department and create a Metro Police Department, and also working towards what they called Unigov." And that was something to where a more streamlined process as far as law enforcement, city, county government.
Everything under one roof.
Right, yeah. Everything under one roof. And it was something that went back to the days of, days of Richard Lugar. And it was something that he got wind of and started getting all this information, started working all these connections, and we were able to have like the exclusive that night at 10 o'clock. We really just kind of blew the doors off of everyone. And I heard the next day, I got a phone call from Russ saying that, man, you want to be a fly on the wall over at WTHR this morning during their morning meeting. They are getting lit into because they completely missed the story. Yeah, they completely got scooped.
It's part of the business, though. So
absolutely.
What was the biggest lesson you learned working in a big market versus working, say, here?
That's a good question. The biggest lesson, I think, was making sure that you dotted your I's, you crossed your T's on every single story. And it's not to say that that doesn't happen in smaller markets and other TV stations, but it was such a level of pressure, at least for me, to where it's just kind of like we had to be absolutely buttoned up. Like there's absolutely no room for mistakes. So I learned to really just double and triple check all of my stuff. I also learned to be able to, there are going to be times when management is just not going to be happy with you. And there were a few times here where management was not,
it's part of it,
was not very happy. But I'm glad that it happened when it did early on in my career, because I was prepared for it. So that when I got up to Indianapolis, and I realized that these things are going to happen from time to time, and you have to be able to learn from your mistakes, and to be able to rise above to the occasion next time around. So it was thankfully it wasn't one of those where I just, man, I'm terrible, I don't know what I'm doing, right. And just I learned to be able to adapt and grow along the way.
Yeah, interesting. You have family, of course. You're still with Julia, and you have
I have my daughter. She is,
met her.
Connie is a freshman here at U of E.
Okay.
So she's really learning all about the college life.
Is she
And
going
is
to
having a
follow
great
in your
time.
footsteps? And
No.
go to journalism? No.
That's a hard no.
Yeah. I think any kids that live with somebody who's in broadcasting and kind of see it from that side. Although now, having said, nobody in my family seemed to be interested in being a weatherman or working in broadcasting. But in Indianapolis, in particular, there was a father-son, Bob Gregory and Kevin Gregory.
That's right.
Bob was your weatherman at 13, and Kevin was on Channel
6.
That's right.
I actually worked with Kevin when I was, because I worked at WRTV Channel 6 for about 6 years. So I actually worked with Kevin, and then I got to Bob had long retired from television, but I got to meet Bob later on, and what a great family. Those guys are fantastic.
Yeah, and did you get good seats at the 500 for all your trouble?
You know what?
Or you probably had to work it.
I had
right?
to work. I had to work every single Indy 500. So, and actually, I with the exception of this last Indy 500. All of my past pre-race shows, I had to work back at the station. I was producing in the control room because all the stations did like a 6 or 7 hour pre-race show. Yeah,
and this has to be laid out and pre-produced weeks and weeks ahead. The segments and
right.
things.
There are certain segments that are pre-produced. There are live interviews that are like set up ahead of time. We had a team of producers and executive producers that would. Be in touch with all their connections at the Motor Speedway, and would look at, we want to be able to do this interview, during this time, and this interview over here. We work with our sports department because they're interviewing drivers, and those guys had a window. I think maybe it was like from about 6 a.m. to about maybe like 9 a.m. to where, if you're going to interview us, you're going to do it here, because after that we're in race, we're in race mode. So yeah, there was a lot of things that went into a pre-race show, and the entire newsroom, whether I was at Channel 6 or Channel 13, every single person that worked in that newsroom was working on race day because we needed every single person.
Yeah. Even weather. I saw Chuck Lofton and talk about pressure, because it always the weather can be a big factor.
Absolutely.
In the Derby, any outdoor event.
Absolutely.
And it seems like in more than one Indy 500, there were weather delays. I think there was a tornado warning on a couple of them. And, now everybody's looking at the weather guy or meteorologist, because you had Angela Buckman at your station too?
We had Angela Buckman, obviously Chuck Lofton. I worked with Chuck for the past
and he's
13
an
years.
alum. We need to get him on here.
We
He's
really do.
retired.
He
got
would
nothing going on.
That's right. He's retired. He would enjoy a phone call and to stop on by. We had we've always had at Channel 13. Honestly, at all the stations I worked with, we had wherever I was at, we had a phenomenal weather team, and they were meticulous, obviously, and making sure that race day forecast was, down to the hour of how things were going to play out. And there's always the joke among Indianapolis TV people to where it's just like, I think there might be a window over at Terre Haute where there might, we might be able to get at least part of half of the race in, and not have to worry about postponing it till the next day, because nobody wants that.
Yeah, nobody wants to actually do it on Memorial Day. And then you had a Super Bowl in there too.
That's right. Yeah.
Now I can't remember if NBC had the Super Bowl the year that it was in Indianapolis or not, or if that made any difference. Because sometimes, like if it's, say it's on Fox or CBS, then we pretend like nothing's going on, and we show Heidi on the air, or something. Little arcane broadcast reference for some.
I love that
one.
But
anyway, regardless of whether you were the affiliate carrying the Super Bowl or not, you still had to cover the event.
Absolutely.
This is big for Indianapolis.
Yeah, no, and I believe that year NBC did have the Super Bowl, but I was already at WTHR at the time. And regardless of whether or not we had the Super Bowl that year or not, we were going to make it big. We were going to absolutely own it, not only through like our live coverage, but all the different factors, because it's a huge event. Obviously,
right.
it's something to where the eyes of the world are on Indianapolis, and I tell you what, the city of Indianapolis did a fantastic job of making that into just like a huge party, a big street fest. That because I mean the crowds, I just remember just even on a random day that led up to that Super Bowl weekend, there were just throngs of people. Downtown along Georgia Street, along that downtown stretch, in and around the Lucas Oil Stadium. They had those zip lines that were flying across,
and a little upscale, for what you would typically do for fun in downtown Indianapolis.
Exactly. We normally don't have zip lines downtown because there are city ordinances, I think, that are a problem against that. But no, I mean that. The city put on a fantastic show, and from a station standpoint, we wanted to highlight all of the big things and let the viewer in on everything that was exciting about the Super Bowl, and it was just a great time. I was glad to be a part of it.
I think that the business is changing, and we're not going to gripe about that and talk about our aches and pains. But
that's another podcast altogether.
That's right. But I think the one thing that still excites me about our business is the ability to tell stories and to have pictures and sound and meet people. No 2 days are alike, as many people have said sitting in your chair. I'd say the same thing. And I think that's, ultimately what will sustain it. I don't know in what form, the industry will be, but you've been, a part of it for this big change as well. And so it must feel kind of good that you've done your thing, and now you're kind of taking a little pause here and, it's smelling the roses.
I was trying to smell the roses along the way. I think I've said this a couple of different times where I can't believe that I have been in this business for 30 years. Like that, just when I say that out loud, this like that doesn't seem possible. It feels like just the other day I was walking into this station to kind of get my feet wet in this business. But it's been an exciting time. It's been interesting to see how much the industry has changed over the years, but you're absolutely right. The number one thing will always be, and what viewers will always gravitate towards, is the stories, the good storytelling, and learning more about people to have that connection. I think that that's something that'll never go away.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming by. Do we need to tie this up with a bow and explain the Heidi reference for our younger viewers?
You might need to, yeah.
You remember this, right? So back in, I don't remember the exact year, but there was a big football game.
Big football game.
Playoff, and I think it was the Bills and the Jets.
I can't remember the two teams.
Yeah, I don't remember the teams, but NBC had scheduled Heidi, the movie about a girl in the Alps, drinking hot cocoa or something, that was going to go at 7 o'clock. It was going to be the family movie. Mm-hmm. And this game went into overtime. Right. And it was close. It was either tied or it would have been tied if it was in overtime. Yeah. And at 7 o'clock, the order was for the guy back then, they actually pulled cables and physically switched the feed. Yeah. After which, because you're dealing with the phone company, you couldn't go back. Right. And football fans were calling NBC to say, don't you put on Heidi, and they jammed the switchboard.
We're irate.
And so the person who could make the call to say, well, let's hold, couldn't get through. And so the guy sitting in a shack up in Wisconsin or wherever the connection was.
Wherever the connection was.
Well, my orders are 7 o'clock, so he pulls the cable.
Just like,
and then it turned out to be this huge upset where the team that wasn't supposed to win did by a tremendous margin. There was some incredible play. Yeah. And NBC never lived it down. And that's why now we have sports overages. So if a game's in progress, we don't cut away from a game ever.
Right, because no one wants to feel the wrath of football fans.
Feel any wrath, and Heidi fans were mad too. Everybody was mad.
Right,
that's a great day in our business when you can make everyone mad equally. Then you're doing something.
And that guy was just like, I just want to go home. I want this day to end.
That's right. I wish this didn't have to end, but we got another show coming in here.
Absolutely,
studio.
Sure.
Greg Kathary, thanks so much for coming out.
No, appreciate it.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Jeff.
it. Keep
Yeah.
us up to date on what you're doing, all right?
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. If you'd like to hear all of our podcasts, you can watch them on the 14 News YouTube channel. You can also listen, of course, wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to listen to our companion podcast, What's the Trend, with Aaron Weeks and Casey Mason. That goes out on Fridays. With Greg Kathary, I'm Jeff Lyons. Thanks for joining Inside Look.